June 23, 1757. A humid dawn rises over Bengal. The Hooghly River flows silently, reflecting a sky thick with clouds. 50,000 men gather under the banner of Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah, last independent ruler of Bengal. Their cannons shine, their war elephants rear, and their officers shout orders that echo over the muddy plains. Across the riverbank, 3,000 soldiers of the British East India Company stand ready. Outnumbered, outgunned, and under constant threat of defeat, they appear hopeless. Yet history is not written by numbers alone. It is written by greed, betrayal, and ambition. In the shadows, a conspiracy brews. Mir Jafar, commander-in-chief of the Nawab's army, the man entrusted with the defense of Bengal, has been promised the throne. A few courtiers, bankers, and generals have pledged loyalty not to Siraj, but to gold. By sunset, the battlefield will witness a stunning reversal. The rich, powerful Nawab of Bengal will flee, his army will collapse, and a small trading company led by Robert Clive will claim a kingdom without firing a decisive battle. This is the story of how a single act of betrayal built an empire and changed the destiny of India forever. Chapter 1. The Wealth of Bengal and the Seeds of Ambition. Bengal, in the mid-18th century, was the jewel of India. Its fertile lands produced rice, indigo, silk, and spices that filled warehouses from Murshidabad to Calcutta. The Nawab of Bengal controlled unimaginable wealth, a treasury that could fund armies, forts, and grand palaces. For the British East India Company, Bengal was more than a trading post. It was a prize worth conquering. The company had arrived centuries earlier as merchants, but ambition quickly outpaced commerce. They built forts, raised private armies, and operated under a thin veneer of loyalty to the Nawab. Tensions rose when the young Siraj-ud-Daulah, barely 22, discovered that the British were fortifying Calcutta without permission. To him, it was a threat to sovereignty. He demanded they stop, they refused. The Nawab's decision to march on Calcutta led to the infamous Black Hole incident, where many British prisoners suffocated in a tiny cell. The horror reached London, providing propaganda fuel for those eager to justify colonial intervention. Amid this turbulence, Robert Clive was dispatched from Madras. A man driven by ambition, cunning, and a hunger for wealth, Clive understood that victory would require more than guns. It would require alliances, manipulation, and exploiting human weakness. The seeds of betrayal were planted long before the first cannon fired. Chapter 2. Robert Clive. Ambition personified. Robert Clive's story is one of calculated audacity. Born into a minor gentry family burdened with debt, he was a man who had once attempted suicide, only to survive by mischance. India gave him purpose, power, and a chance to rewrite his destiny. Clive had already distinguished himself as a military tactician in southern India. He had the ability to see opportunity where others saw risk. He understood that a victory over Siraj-ud-Daulah could cement British power for generations. When Clive reached Bengal, he moved swiftly. Calcutta was recaptured from Siraj's forces. Chandanagar, the French-controlled fort, was seized. But Clive knew that battles alone would not secure Bengal's wealth. He needed control of the Nawab himself. That control came in the form of Mir Jafar, a man ambitious, disrespected, and willing to betray the man he had sworn to serve. Clive's genius lay not just in tactics, but in understanding the human heart. He knew that money, ambition, and fear could be more potent than cannons. Chapter 3. The Conspiracy of Betrayal. Mir Jafar was sidelined by Siraj-ud-Daulah, humiliated and resentful. Clive's agents approached him with a promise: "Help us defeat your Nawab and the throne of Bengal will be yours." But Mir Jafar was not alone in his disloyalty. The Jagat Seths, Bengal's wealthiest bankers, feared Siraj's unpredictability. Rai Durlab and Yarlutov Khan sought stability and profit over loyalty. Together they formed a web of betrayal. The Nawab, young and overconfident, suspected nothing. He trusted the men who would abandon him in his hour of need. As the armies gathered near Plassey, Clive's strategy was simple: trust in betrayal rather than battle. The conspirators were ready, the stage was set. And yet, Siraj marched on, confident in his numerical superiority. Could a kingdom truly fall without a fight? History was about to show the answer. Chapter 4. The Day of the Battle. June 1757. The rain-soaked plains of Plassey became the theater of a betrayal that would echo through centuries. Siraj's 50,000 soldiers, 40 cannons, and 10 war elephants outnumbered Clive's 3,000 men by more than 15 to 1. Yet Clive knew numbers were meaningless if loyalty was absent. As the battle commenced, Siraj's generals hesitated. Orders were ignored. Cannons were unmanned. Troops held back. For 11 hours, the battle raged, yet the real fight never reached its potential. Siraj's army began to crumble from within. Mir Jafar's forces remained inactive, refusing to support the Nawab. Panic spread, confusion erupted. Finally, the young Nawab fled the battlefield, leaving behind a disintegrating army. Victory had been bought, not won. By nightfall, Plassey had fallen. Bengal's wealth was now in British hands, and Mir Jafar was placed on the throne as a puppet of the East India Company. The cost? Betrayal of trust, the subjugation of a rich province, and the birth of a colonial empire. Chapter 5. The aftermath, puppet thrones, and plundered treasuries. Mir Jafar's coronation was a spectacle of deceit. He wore the crown, but real power flowed through Clive and the East India Company. Bengal's treasury was looted, trade monopolized, and taxes increased to fund the company's expansion. The riches of Bengal financed British armies, allowing Clive to consolidate control and remove French influence from the subcontinent. The betrayal extended beyond the battlefield. Farmers faced higher taxes. Artisans saw their markets collapse. The wealth of a nation became a tool for foreign ambition. Even Mir Jafar, the man who betrayed his Nawab for power, discovered too late that he was nothing more than a figurehead. Chapter 6. The Domino Effect, Empire Through Deception. Plassey was more than a battle. It was a template for colonial conquest. The company used revenue from Bengal to expand into Bihar, Orissa, and eventually the rest of India. European rivals, the Dutch and French, were forced out, unable to compete with the wealth flowing from a conquered Bengal. Each step was fueled by the betrayal of a single man and the greed of those who prioritized profit over loyalty. In essence, the British Empire in India was built not only on cannon and musket, but on treachery, manipulation, and financial domination. The Battle of Plassey demonstrates the human cost of ambition and the power of betrayal. One man's desire for power toppled a kingdom. One man's vision for empire reshaped a continent. Siraj-ud-Daulah's misjudgment, Mir Jafar's treachery, and Clive's cunning remind us that history is written by those willing to exploit both human weakness and opportunity. Bengal's fall was a warning. Wealth invites greed, power invites envy, and loyalty is fragile. The question remains for us today. Could such betrayal repeat itself in the corridors of modern power? The Battle of Plassey was brief but transformative. It secured British dominance in India for the next 2 centuries. It created the conditions for the expansion of the British East India Company into an empire. Mir Jafar faded into obscurity. Siraj-ud-Daulah was captured and executed. Clive returned to Britain, a millionaire, having changed the fate of millions. A single act of betrayal created an empire. A nation was reshaped forever. And the lessons of Plassey remain. Greed, ambition, and betrayal have the power to alter history, for better or far worse.